I like what they've done with the place. Yay!
It's the freak phone, and here's the party freak, Freddy Freaker.
Hello.
Hello? Hello, hello. Do you read me? Oh god, it has been a long day.
It sure has.
I should probably check with Chad, make sure that we're actually appearing. I don't know if they can see us.
Should be. Is it working, guys?
Nope, doesn't seem to be.
Interesting. Let me just remove this.
Yep, nope, nothing.
I'm so confused.
Should I say that we're having technical difficulties?
I suppose. I'm not sure why. There it goes.
Oh, are we good? Hello? We in here? Oh yeah, I guess it's time, yeah. Everyone's saying hi to me.
Not sure why it was having such a problem getting started, but I'm glad it's working now. Hopefully it doesn't,
Hey, you wanna just get this over with now? You wanna take a sip of the funny juice?
No, not really.
But you gotta!
Hold on.
It's tradition.
Austin, wait. I'm gonna stop the music altogether.
It says, see your faces, but the video's frozen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
moving here and there. Wow. It's awful.
You know, we might just have to, like, go through this entire stream just with, like, a image over us or something if it just decides not to work.
Are you guys are hearing it okay, though? It's mostly just the video that's frozen? Because if that's the case, we can just turn the video off. It's no big deal.
Yeah, audio's fine, video's frozen. Can't hear, can't see. No, can't hear.
That's so weird.
Yeah, what happened?
I don't know.
Should we just, like, try restarting it completely? Not the stream, but, you know.
Hold on.
You guys are saying this is my camera. I'm using Heather's equipment. I'm at Heather's house.
We're doing our best.
My dude, you can't just... Yeah, Heather, that might be the problem, is that you're trying to monitor our own fucking stream.
I'm not watching it. No, I'm not.
And it's some people are saying that it's working, some people are saying that it's lagging.
I think it's better.
It's getting better. Keep going.
Okay, we're good.
Can we just go? Are we good?
We're good. Sorry about that, guys.
Okay, cool. Now let's vast error for real.
So, for the first bit, we are going to mostly be talking about a little bit of the future of the comic. Where we're going forward, give you a little bit on the inside scoop. And then the second half, or sooner, if we finish up a little more quickly than we anticipate, we will be taking questions. And that'll be fun.
Especially with this many fucking people in here.
Yeah, there's a lot of people here. Thank you guys for coming so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm really just gonna, when we get to that point, I'm really just gonna pick, like, the stupidest question that I see out of the live chat, and I'm just gonna rapid fire it, unless you have something to argue with. Which you won't, because we agree on the real topics, like if Calder's hot, which he is.
Yeah, we saw that earlier. Is Calder hot? Absolutely.
Yeah. Everyone in Vast Error is hot except for the characters who are obviously children and the question mark man, because he's a reply man.
Alright, Austin, so what was it we wanted to talk about first?
So, I believe we did like this impromptu planning session of the stream when we were at the Chick-fil-A reclaiming it, and we said that we're gonna go in order. We're gonna go past, then we're gonna go future, and then we're gonna get into the questions, the present. So, I don't know, like, because we were talking about this while we were there. We've kind of extrapolated on our past a lot. If people have watched, like, Perfectly Generic Podcast or have kept up with the Tumblr or anything like that, like, most people know how Vast Era started, why we started it, what we're doing with it. So I guess it's mainly just a matter of if there's anything you wanted to extrapolate on with that, because otherwise we can just get to the good stuff.
No, I don't think I want to say anything terribly too specific about it, other than just what I said before. We've been working on Vast Error for almost 8 years now, and it's a lot. We've been doing it properly again for 2, getting close to 3. I will continue to try and mess with the volume, but it might be as good as it can get for now. Sorry about that. Yeah, we've been doing it more properly with much more help for about 2 years, almost 3 now. and it's continued to grow more and more very quickly, honestly, very quickly.
Ungodly quickly.
And almost every day we're getting more and more things going on. So I'm very excited for where Vastera is going to continue to go. And I think it's going to be really great. So, as of right now, we are in the big end of Act 2 hiatus. That's fun that you guys are having to wait for that.
And we left you on, like, one of the worst cliffhangers we could have possibly left you on, and I still just do not feel bad about it at all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what else you guys were expecting, honestly, if that was, like, if you didn't think that we were going to pull some kind of stunt like that. Like, I'm not Andrew Hussey. I'm not gonna be nice to you. I would have left you people on game over if I had the chance back in, like, 2013.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's not that.
Yeah.
So, the progress for the end of Act 2 is going very well, actually. We are already nearing completion in the storyboarding process.
I'd say we're like 75% done or so. We got we got to finish, like, the very end, and there's, like,
a couple more scenes in between,
yeah, like
and then
scenes.
just some tweaking to make sure it all looks proper and how we want it. And then from there, we're going to actually start moving into sketching and working on the shots fully. So we're on a pretty good track, I think, for that.
And this is also, this is going to be our first flash that we're doing, our first big flash, because I've talked about it in, like, news posts and stuff, but it's going to be 7 minutes and 12 seconds long, and if you pay attention to the music and all of the various hints I've tossed around like fucking fairy dust, you'll understand exactly what song that we're going to be putting on there. And we're finally going to include guest art in Vast Error Flashes. The point of that being that it's probably going to be mostly background work and various other smaller things. We kind of want to keep the style consistent for various reasons, which isn't to say, you know, that there won't be different versions that we see of the characters later. It's just, for now, we're trying to keep things on the level.
Yep. So, with that, that's where we're at for the end of Act 2. After the end of Act 2, Austin, what are we doing?
After end of Act 2, we have, we're not technically going directly in to Intermission 2. We're gonna have, like, a span of pages between there. I don't know exactly how long it's gonna be. It's probably, if I had to make a guess, I'd say probably, like, around 50 or so, something like that. And we're gonna pay a visit to a few other characters who, we're gonna be seeing later before we head into Intermission 2 proper, which, I'm obviously not going to tell you guys what happens in it, but I can tell you it's going to be about other trolls, and it's gonna have some nice chess people in there, some nice chess people you might have heard about. Maybe one who's a real trash man.
You probably know who that is.
Yeah. Actually, I guess there's, like, 2 trash men in Intermission 2. Two major
right.
trash men.
Yeah, one you know and one you do not yet know, but you will soon.
The secret garbage.
The secret garbage man. One of the few characters that Austin has managed to not spoil before their appearance in the comic. So, that's exciting.
Like, look, man. I know I'm, like, well known for spilling the beans and, like, not being, like, I'm well known for being cryptic, but not cryptic enough. But, like, like you said, we've been working on this thing for 8 years. You can't expect me to have so much self-control after all this time.
I know.
I've been sitting. It's been sitting under my ass. I've been incubating this comic for so long, Heather.
I know, Austin. It's fine. Because me too. I've been guilty of that as well. Even if it was at your bidding more than anything sometimes. But we both do it. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's our story. We can spoil a few things sometimes if we want.
I think it's a very inclusive system. Honestly, I think it brings us all a little closer together. It gives people a little more of something that they don't get anywhere else. It really feels like we have a bond, even though I don't know you people. I will probably never know you, and you will never know me. You will never know my name. You will never know. You don't even know if my name's Austin. I could have been lying to you this entire time. This could just be a fucking ruse.
Well, I've kept up with it pretty well, if that's the case.
My real name? Cotton Eye Joe.
So, with that in mind, too, I did also want to bring up that let's reiterate the fact that we do have our more supplementary material, Snowbound Blood, yes.
Yeah.
That is not just additional content related to Vast Error, but in case some people still aren't aware, it is technically a proper sequel. Or I'm sorry, not a sequel, a prequel.
Yeah, no, it is not a sequel.
I'm sorry, my brain's not working. It's a prequel to the comic proper. And while it is not required to continue Vast Error, it does add a lot more to it, and I do recommend that you read it at some point. And if things go well, once it is completed, we might do more, depending.
There might how Heather just said sequel earlier? There might be a sequel, not to Vast Error, but to Snowbound Blood. We have some things in the works for it that we want to do, and it'll still be a part of the comic. We aren't cowards. Nothing in Vast Error that we make that's supplementary is non-canon. We don't do this semi-canon, pseudo-canon, alternate canon thing. If you see it in the comic, or if you see it and it has our name slapped on it like a fucking Bible sticker, then it's real and it's canon and you should accept it and you should probably look into it. But also, even if you aren't gonna play through Snowbound Blood all the way, which again, your loss, you should probably at least look into Osius. Not just because I'm biased in writing his route with my good friend D, but also because, as you guys know, with a comic with such a expanded cast, there's only so much that you can do with certain characters in a specific time frame, and a lot of people, because of that, I believe, kind of tend to not fully understand what's going on, because certain things can only be shown at certain points in time. So if you want to get more of Osius being Osius pre-comic and seeing more of what he's like when he's not in his element, at least play his route, just so you know, just so you get some good old character expansion, and so that you don't think that he's that he doesn't love Elsie. Do people still say that? After Snowbound Blood, is that a hot take? I don't
know, Austin. I don't know. So what's next? That's Snowbound Blood.
We really are just blowing, it's like we got a fucking grocery list. It's we talked about Snowbound Blood. We talked about Intermission 2. We talked about End of Act 2. When are we going to show them the fucking box? When are we going to give them the mystery box?
Do you want to show the box
I want to show that's all.
Okay.
Heather, that's all I've ever wanted was to show the box.
I know. I have to give a little bit of a preface for it first.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is your box.
It's my box. So, Here's a little additional Vast Error history for you guys really quick that may or may not be important. In the earlier years of Vast Error's development, when we were both still in high school, I took 2 years of a ceramics class. And in my ceramics class, I made Vast Error related pieces of pottery. One of which is a box. I made a box, and I spent days carving the Vast Error characters into this box. And the reason it is a historic artifact is not only because it's so old at this point, but it shows off some of the outdated, horrendous designs for a few of the trolls, mostly Austin's.
Yeah, no, my trolls went through way more redesigns and, like, name fixes than yours did.
Yeah.
I ended up changing almost all of the characters' last names except for Arcjack because he was already in the comic at that point. And I think the most notable one actually is Osius because his original name was Caline, and that was really funny because you made Calder at the same time that I made him.
We messaged each other one day, and Austin was like, "Hey, look, I made this new character named Caline," and I was like, "Whoa, I just made one named Calder. That's so funny." And so eventually, one of them had to change, and we changed Caline to Osius.
No, there was one before that though.
Oh, there was. You're right.
There was one before that. It was like Caline, and then I think it was Decrom. It was Decrom, and then it was Osius.
Name changes. Osius has been through the most.
Yeah. Everyone else, I think, has kept their first names, but I've changed their last names a bunch. I do not remember what any of my characters' old last
Gentha
names.
changed, kind of.
Oh, yeah, because originally Gentha was never called by her first name. The nickname thing on Repeton, where a lot of trolls give each other nicknames because their names end up being, like, meaningless and unintelligible, that was still a thing back then, so Gentha had, like, a weird name, and because of that, people called her Jitters because she stuttered, and, you know, obviously that's the joke that you make. It's really funny. I was a very funny kid.
Yeah, it's funny. Obviously, we don't call Gentha Jitters at all anymore, and I appreciate that. I'm glad we don't.
I think did I make Mert call Gentha Jitters once in...
You might have.
I think he calls her that once.
That's a throwback.
In his log with Dismas in the canyon.
Yeah. Another thing Austin and I tend to do that a lot of people will not ever pick up on is sometimes we put our own inside jokes into the past in the comic in small places that may or may not ever be announced to the public. Give me the fucking box.
It's time for the box.
We've let it on long enough. Give me the fucking box.
Get in the box.
You guys ready for the box?
Oh, it's box time. The box.
So, I'm gonna start on a good side. First of all the blood colors were not the same at this point in time either. We had much more duplicates, and we wanted to change that. So, keep that in mind. On the top, I've got a white noise head for the, like, lid handle. I'm trying to not, like, crash that and it'd be noisy as fuck. So here's side one. Dismas, Laven, and Albion. They all look pretty much the same, right?
They're about I don't think Dismas has, like, the...
Covering you.
I don't think Dismas has, like, the fingerless gloves yet. He hasn't...
Yeah, no, they're just sleeves, I think.
Yeah, he hasn't reached that point of edge.
They're about the same. Next side is also about the same. Arcjack, Elsie, and Sova. Horrendous old art, either way, but to be fair, I was also drawing it in clay, which is, not as easy, so... That's 2. 3 is where our first offenders are.
Yeah, this is where it starts to get actually weird.
We have Gentha over here. Excuse me. Serpais, who used to be green.
Yeah, also, if
Gentha was red.
I want to tell the people, if you're wondering where Serpaise's horns are. It's because the joke with that was she used to have her horns be so small that they were hidden under her hat, and she could get away with that. They were the same horns. They did not come out of the hat.
No.
She wasn't a fan of them. I think that was the actual reasoning. Like, she didn't like her horns, so she wore the hard hat while she worked as kind of like an excuse to cover them up. This is still back when these characters were quote unquote Alternians. This is before we decided that Repeton was a thing.
So her hiding her horns was more of an excuse that we were talking about, that it would have been less acceptable for her to have the 3, because it was weird.
Yeah.
So she didn't get, like, shamed as some sort of mutant. She was able to hide them under her hat. But now, of course, we've got the hat where they poke out, and I like that a lot better.
It's way better.
So this side again, just briefly, Calder, he still looks pretty much the same. He's fine. And then the last side has a really fun one, probably one of the worst.
Yeah.
Original Mert, right here.
So, when I originally made Mert in 2011, he was like a bruiser Jersey boy.
Yeah.
Which is why he had the spiked brass knuckles, and like at the time in 2011, like Jersey Shore was like a popular thing. It was like a popular like shitty reality TV show that people liked, and I was like, yeah, I'll cash in on the fad. I'll just make a character based around this concept. And that is also kind of where the idea of Mert talking in, like, shitty limericks and using weird turns of phrases and nicknames came in at first. It was a lot better back then, honestly, in terms of how he spoke. He's only degraded in that department over time.
Which, I mean, you could argue that's for better or for worse, but I think it makes him more interesting proper.
Yeah, it's way better. Mert's way better now. I don't like this old Mert.
We'll look at him again. Just get that in your brain. Also, Osius here. We used to do the blood spatters on his coat for all the, experiment bullshit he does. But more importantly, he did not have the third eye as a concept, and instead, this eye patch covered a lazy eye.
Yeah, it was like a really bad lazy eye that, like, it still had, like, a weird blood color thing going on with it, but there was, like, no intrinsic purpose as to why it was there other than that, haha, he looks funny because he has a lazy eye.
Yeah. So that's the box. Those aren't the most beta designs. I think some even changed a little. There was some changes to some of mine too, which I do not have in any sort of physical form at the moment, but maybe eventually those will pop up. Still not terribly too different, but definitely not what we have now. Yeah. And then I have one other thing I want to share that I made in this pottery ceramics class. And that is a white noise skull, which I am actually still quite proud of.
Yeah, this is, I think this one's from like 2014, 2015, because that's Repeton in his mouth. That's not Alternia.
And I made this in my senior year in high school. It was my final ceramics project, and I worked very hard on it, and I think it still holds up pretty well, honestly. I use it for various things still. It's just a nice little decoration. It's not too big. It's nice. It's Vast Error. And in my house. Vast Error exists in my house. Nothing like super story oriented on that one though, but those are some ceramics. I do have one other thing, but we didn't grab it. The plate. The plate.
The guy on Caparia plate.
I did.
Where'd you put that?
It's right there. Under those notebooks, if you want to grab it.
Yeah, okay. The things I do for this stream.
Yeah. So, I'll talk about that really quick while he's grabbing it. the other thing I made majorly that was Vast Era related was this just a panel, I guess, for Gaion and Caparia. The glare is awful on it, I'm so sorry, but I did a bit of an indention for the back arms. It goes in, and then Gaion's head sticks out. And it's fun. It's just a random panel. It doesn't really serve any purpose, but it's pretty.
Heather, what are you talking about? Everything in Vast Era serves a purpose. Nothing we do is meaningless. That's the theme. These are the thematics, Heather. We're living it.
Yeah, I guess. But I don't know if the plate is Vast Era or it's just fun. I think it's just fun.
It can be fun, Vast Era. Vast Era can be fun sometimes, allegedly.
Allegedly.
I've been really in the mood to, like, own people recently, you know?
Yeah.
You know, they're just... You know, like, sometimes when you're a creator and you've been in the game and you're seeing the takes and you're seeing the people and you've gone on 4chan enough and you've been on Reddit enough, you just want to, like... You just get the urge to tell people that they're wrong.
I guess.
And that's...
I think that's more of a you thing than a me thing. But...
No, you do it too. You just do it to me.
Okay. Well, it's contained. I'll tell Austin he's wrong, but I don't fuss with fans, as like Austin does. But that's fine. He has fun with it.
Yeah. This is why I'm the social media man. I say the things that Heather can't.
That's right.
So I think there was another thing about...
There was.
About the future.
Structure.
The what?
Act structure.
Yeah, act structure. Mm-hmm. That's what I was about to get into. So, I don't know if you guys were able to catch Optimistic Duelist's video on the subject earlier in the con. Great video. Funnily enough, that's actually how I met Optimistic Duelist. I ended up talking to them, and I ended up liking their content so much. They had like a Patreon tier at the time, where it was like, if you give me $50, I'll make a video for you. And I was like, you know what? I just want to support the channel. Here's $50. If you want, give the comic like some consideration. If you want to make a video on it, fine. I just want to give you some support. Want to give you a little bit of help. Get yourself some McDonald's. And it's like...
Burger money.
Yeah, the burger money. That's what all the Patreon money goes to. My burger fund.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a burger fund. But in the video, Odie says that Vast Era is 5 acts long. And that is correct. Vast Era is 5 acts, 5 intermissions, credits, and an epilogue. And I found this out recently because it was unintentional on our part, but I was thinking about it because I was taking a contemporary literature class. I still go to college, and we went through some of the common literary structures in that, like, it's just a general template that people tend to use in fiction. You know, like the hero's journey. And there was one specific template where it's basically like the hero's journey, but it's fractured in terms of character development through a plot rather than a character's journey in the plot. Mm-hmm. And it is also a 5-act structure. I believe it's called, like... God, what is it called? It's like the 3D, like...
You've sent it.
Yeah, I sent it to you. It's like the 3D circle of, like, character development or some shit like that. It's the development circle. Yeah, the 3D roadmap of change in regards to character. And, again, it wasn't intentional, but it's a 5-act structure that's basically like all of Vast Error stuck in to this one literary roadmap that we never had any intention of putting in the first place. And that happens to us a lot with Vast Error. Now, don't misconstrue this as me saying that our comic is fake deep. We've been thinking about this shit for 8 years, and we have too many lists to count for so much random in-depth bullshit. And some of it gets tossed around anyway. But,
Sometimes things just kind of fall into place when we didn't necessarily realize it at first. And then when we notice those sorts of things, we kind of hone in on them a little bit and refine the concept. So sometimes things that work out really well are unintentional, but when we notice them, it's very rewarding. Like, wow, we did that without even really thinking about it. And then we can do more with it at that point. I think that's really cool, actually. That sometimes things just work out.
Yeah. And, like, again, this structure is pretty much exact. I'm going to go through this chart really quickly. So, this is going to be the closest to spoilers you're ever going to get out of me. That's just vague, cryptic nonsense. So...
Make it quick.
We talked about this. This was always a part of the plan.
I know.
Anyway, so Act 1, the character's got no knowledge. It's got growing knowledge, and then there's awakening. And then in Act 2, you got the doubt, you got the overcoming reluctance, and you got the acceptance. And then in Act 3, or in our case, Act 3, Act 1, Act 3 is a two-parter, you got experimenting with knowledge, and then you got the midpoint, which is going to be our intermission 3, Act 2. And that's the breakthrough with the key knowledge and experimenting post-knowledge. And then you get Act 4, you're back in the doubt, you got the growing reluctance, you got the regression, you've got the depression, you're never going to get away from the depression. And then you got the Act 5 reawakening, reacceptance, and the total mastery, which leads into the Vast Error experience, and it will be bittersweet, as it were, because I think one of the questions that we get the most often is just, is the comic going to have a sad ending? Is the comic going to have a happy ending? Where is all of this going? And I really think bittersweet is like the most patented word for what the experience ends up being. There is catharsis, but it's not going to be like a fix-all, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not one for the downer ending, but I'm also not one for the totally happy, everyone is in peace nonsense ending. It's not going to be like the Homestuck epilogues, basically.
No.
Because I feel like the fundamental like key difference between Vast Error and Homestuck and how it handles their ending is that Homestuck is metatextually based in the concepts of relevancy and how that relevancy is handled with it and its characters as a story, whereas I want Vast Error to be a story that eventually... Vast Error is a story that will hurt you, but ultimately loves you and will know when to let you go.
I guess that's a good way to put it. There's gonna be a lot going on.
It's a lot. It's never not gonna be a lot.
But, yeah, so that basically means, like you said, 5 acts. That's what we're gonna be going through.
Yeah.
And
5 acts, one of which is a sub-act. So, Act 3, Act 1, Act 3, Act 2.
Right. But that's like... Are we doing that in 4? Are we doing that in 4 too?
No, we're not.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we're only doing that once. And then the rest of it's solid whole acts with intermissions in between. And each intermission is going to be fairly unique. not spoiling anything, not saying anything too specific, but each intermission is going to be its own subject matter that is relevant to the story as a whole, but not necessarily like, you know, intermission 1 isn't going to be a continuation into intermission 2.
Yeah.
Intermission 2 isn't going to continue into intermission 3. They're separate things.
Yeah. Like, intermissions are exactly as it said, it's intermissions. It ties into the comic in some way, but I think White Noise puts it best. White Noise says, you're not going to be with him anymore during those, and it's going to be like a commercial break. It's going to be your side content inside of the real content, and it will tangentially, or maybe even wholly eventually, tie back into the real content, but is ultimately still fundamentally separate until that connection is made.
Nope.
Oh, do we want to talk about the albums?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so, last thing I believe regarding the future of Vast Era Music projects, shout-outs to everyone in the Vast Era Music team. I've seen a few of you talking in here. Hi, how you doing? It's me, Austin. I'm your boss. So, next album, plan is that it's supposed to be on July 4th. It's going to be an American album. And the title is going to be Catch 322, because I've been wanting to use that name forever, and I couldn't think of anything better. It was working under the title of Repeton Bound for a while, because it's gonna kind of be an album that's like what Alternia Bound was. It's a lot of songs that are going to be used in upcoming walk-around games and such, which is going to be starting in Act 3. That's going to be coming out on July 4th. Hopefully, we might have to push it back a little more. It depends. God, I know you're typing.
So, keep talking.
God, it's so hard because I want to see what you're typing. So yeah, Catch 322. That's probably going to be July 4th. Next album is going to be a bit of a weird one. We're going to be releasing a sound test. If you don't know what a sound test is for some reason, it's going to be a collection of odds and ends and alphas and demos that and unreleased content that the music team isn't going to be putting on any other albums, or that will never be finished. Mm-hmm. That it also probably won't have track art, because I don't really feel the need to make track art for like a whole album that's just full of unfinished material. So that'll probably be our next release. I'm hoping that by the end of the year, in December, that we're able to get like a solo or a smaller collab project out, but that's probably not going to happen. I don't know. It really depends. Music team output is very, it's either all at once, or it's kind of slowish, or it's being saved for other albums. Speaking of which, early 2020, 2 albums that I know for sure are happening. Snowbound Blood album is going to happen once all 12 volumes are completed. And then we're going to have Volume 5, hopefully on 3/22. If not, it'll be on 5/25, from what I know. The 2-year anniversary of the Repeton side album. I know I shouted out to the music team already, but shout out to Pragmatic Nihilist. He is a very good friend of mine, and also Repeton is probably my favorite side project thus far, and I don't think anything's gonna overtake it. Like, I own that on vinyl. Mm-hmm. I own Repeton on vinyl.
Well, we own about 3 songs from Repeton on vinyl. It's not the whole album, but we do have a little bit, which is very nice. Kate made those for us.
Yep. Shout outs to Kate. Kate Gamblignant8 of Perfectly Generic Podcast fame flew us out to California, and I got drunk on her podcast.
Yeah. That was fun.
It was fun. I had a great time. I don't know about you.
All right. So, in case you didn't notice, Austin, I went ahead and called for Q&A questions since the stream is so delayed.
What do you mean if I didn't notice? I know you're being like a sarcastic fuck right now, but like I was paying attention to it very wholeheartedly, so your sarcastic remark doesn't work.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be keeping up with these as best as possible, but it is very difficult considering
yeah, we got a
there's
lot.
quite a lot,
Yep.
and the chat is moving fast, so if I miss something that if you really want your question answered, feel free to put it in again if need be, or you can message it to me on Discord as well. I don't mind that. That might help me keep track of it. So with that in mind, we are going to go ahead and start answering some questions.
We got one in the SAHcon. SAHcon.
Okay.
We got one in the SAHcon Discord. In our panel room A, if you're not in there. Question for Ostinato. If you had a chum handle / scorp tag / etc., what would it be? I've already came up with that in the past, actually. My tag would be Bart Mania's Retribution. Bart Mania being like the Bart Simpson craze from the 90s, which I've talked about at length whenever I mention Mert. So, there you go. There's your answer.
All right. I think that makes sense.
Should we just go down the list? We got a few on Tumblr too. That we got pre-stream.
Okay, right. Well, I'm gonna start with a couple that we already have here.
Okay. I'll just get the ones that are on Tumblr up.
So, let's see. One question we got was, what is Dismiss's connection with Weird Al?
Dismiss doesn't have a direct connection to Weird Al. Weird Al has a connection with Dismiss, in the sense of that Weird Al needs Dismiss in order to perform his prophetic plans, which we'll be finding more out about later. But as has been explained in the comic, he needs everybody in the game session in order for his plans to come to fruition. So obviously he's going to help Dismiss get in when he can't find his personal codes, because otherwise his plan would fail. And Weird Al's not an idiot. Weird Al is a musician turned horrible psychopath.
Yeah. It's not a big specific connection. It's just something that it popped up in the story.
Oh, wait, hold on. There's one in the stream that I want to say.
Okay.
Best Vast Error Girl. I've answered this before. They're all best girl. You're not going to make me pick between them.
Okay. I enjoy all of them, so. But I have said this before, too. If I had to pick one, I would still say Elsie.
And if I had to pick one, I would... I don't know. If I had to pick one character that I kind of like a little more than any other one, I would say Arcjack, obviously just because of catharsis reasons. Like, I got him on my shirt.
Sure do.
But
my shirt, by the way, since I saw that question being asked, I'm sorry for the delay on that, is I'm wearing Laven. So, next, will Mert's fleshed feelings for Dismiss ever come up?
Absolutely. That is a big plot point. In fact, just to bring it up, because this tangentially ties into the whole thing. Soulmates as a concept and how those and like how it works in Reptonian society, how it affects these trolls, that's a big part of the comic as a whole. And again, I didn't really think I'd need to say it, which is kind of why when it first got brought up back in the day, and by back in the day I mean like last year, I focused more on like the metatextual aspects of it, because I didn't think I would need to state out loud that Soulmates is a bad and restricting system. It's just a worse restricting system than it is on Alternia, and that's kind of the point. But yeah, it's definitely gonna come up. I have this joke with D and Kate where I talk about like the 3 romantic pillars of Vast Error, and those 3 pillars are Tazjek, Sovalbion, and Dismert. So obviously, I'm not just gonna let one of the pillars fall.
No, I mean they're very important. You have to keep those up to, keep the story as a whole stable. So next, when did you decide to make what is essentially a subclass system for the trolls? That is, when and why did you decide to give each troll a different blood color?
I think that's more of a question for you, because you ended up deciding all the bloods in the end.
So essentially, first of all, like you saw when I showed the box, at first we had several characters that had the same color, and initially we wanted them to be a little distinct from each other if they were going to have the same color, and so we had them with slightly different shades of those colors to, make them a little more distinguishable from each other. Of course, eventually we wanted to actually have different casts in the story as a whole, and that's when we changed a few of the characters to different casts, namely Gentha and Serpais, from red and green to yellow and teal respectively, because we just wanted to make our variety a little better. We didn't make the characters together initially. I made my characters on my own, Austin made his characters on his own for different things, and then we brought them together later, so we had to do some tweaking in order to make the cast a little more diverse. So at some point in there we just decided that we thought it would be more fun, especially considering with Repeton's themes of more synthetic reproduction, like the cloning process and everything, that it would be interesting to have slight variations in color and gene expression to give people a little more freedom and just add more variety to character design while still holding to a general cast system. So that's... I don't know the exact point in time we made that decision, like as a statement for the comic proper, but it really wasn't that long ago, I don't think, that we ironed it out better.
I want to say that we, really started, planning on that being a concept around when we started, actually doing the comic again, late 2016 or so was when we, finalized that aspect of it.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's about it with that.
Real quick, how old are we? I'm 22, Austin's 21.
Yeah. Apparently what I'm doing is, very, what we're doing, I guess, is very, prolific for our age, as I've been told by Aisha Ufara, Homestuck President for life. I don't know how I've been doing this. I don't know how Heather's been doing this, but, we're doing it.
Doing what?
Directing.
Exactly.
We're out there.
What are we doing? It's a lot, but it's also, I don't know, it's just kind of happening.
Heather, before we...
Wait, was that?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, you have to take one sip of this.
Okay, fine.
You have to take
Austin
the last sip of this.
Wants me to take a sip of the Code Red. I didn't want to drink one myself because it's too sweet, but he's making me take a sip of it.
You have to drink the funny juice.
I understand, Austin.
Drink the funny juice.
I will do it. There you go.
Thanks.
Pain. So next question I'm gonna answer. What do we think of DBNet's side album for Fan Trolls, Background Noise? That was still officially endorsed.
That was officially endorsed, yeah. I retweeted it on Twitter and everything. DB asked me if he could make the album in the first place. Obviously, there were a few trolls on there that ended up being canonical, even as just like a background troll. Like Ravrow's got a song on there, and I think one or two others do. I can't keep up with Repetonian OCs anymore. There's too many. There's hundreds upon hundreds of them now.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot. It's very surprising, actually, but I love seeing them. I really love seeing Repeton OCs. They make me happy.
But anyway, anything that the music team is good. Next question.
Yeah. Well, to follow up to that, I also got, do you have a favorite song by DBNet?
Do I have a favorite? On that album?
On the first album.
Oh, on the first album? Volume 1?
Well, just in general.
God, that's hard. He's made I think he's made the most tracks out of anybody on any of the albums. He's got a lot. I guess maybe A New World, just because of the motif value in it. I also really like just the title track, Vast Error, a lot. I want to use that in the comics somewhere. What about you?
I don't know. I mean, DB does very fantastic music. I like everything he puts in, honestly. I'm very bad at picking favorites from anybody. I just am. Yeah. But DB definitely does very good music. I love it a lot. Wanted to answer that real quick, too.
Okay.
We also were asked if Trans Hemifi was going to be important at any point in the story. Yeah. I mean, if it's in there, it's going to be touched on at least slightly. It's not just being said for the sake of it.
Yeah. Like, that was a character conversation that we had for a while, because I know there were a lot of people who endorsed, Transcestro, and, I do think that that's a nice headcanon. I think in terms of how the comic actually works with his particular situation, it's a little canonically dubious as to how it could happen. But I think his relationship with Hamifi and how we've ended up talking about how that goes, which I'd like to expand upon, even if it's just in like a side comic somewhere. I'd really like it to just I don't know, have that kind of relevancy. I like including people in things, no matter who they are. So
yeah. Can trolls exist outside of corporate? Like, can they operate independently? If so, how does that work?
Yeah, they do. It's touched upon in comic pretty hard. I mean, none of the main 12 live inside of corporate stronghold walls. Basically, from what we know in comic at least, after you get out of the corporate schooling system, you are kind of coaxed to go into the strongholds and stay there. And after you hit 6 sweeps, corporate funds you until you hit 6 sweeps, and then you're forced to go to work in some way. They cut you off. Mm-hmm. And so you can either work for yourself or you can work for them in some way, shape, or form. And as far as like living situations and stuff goes, corporate has like major apartment complexes and places that you can buy and live in the strongholds. But if you're getting anything out of the strongholds, it's touched upon in Calder's introduction. It's kind of hard because you're basically Repetonian trolls find like an abandoned hive or an abandoned place, and they just kind of set up shop there.
Yeah. I think the main thing that's difficult about being separate from corporate is just the process of troll reproduction in general. That is much more monitored by corporate, and the Jade Blood secrets of how reduplication works and actually doing it is very guarded. But there is the possibility that things can exist outside of that, and we will touch on that in the comic at some point. How did you come around to actually starting Vast Error? Did you believe back then, at the time when you first created these characters, that you would actually create such a big thing?
Yes and no. No in the sense of that we thought it would ever actually happen. Yes in the sense that we wanted it to happen. Like, I remember multiple conversations when I was, like, 13 and you were, like, 14, 15. I would, like, walk around my neighborhood and stuff, and we would just talk on call for, like, hours and hours and hours about what we wanted to do with the comic, all the shit that we could hope to accomplish, and, you know, eventually end up making it big, becoming the most popular fan adventure on the site, maybe meeting the Homestuck team and getting, like, officially endorsed in some capacity. And guess what? We're actually here, and, like, I can't tell you enough how much of just, like, a fantastic honor and dream that it's been to, like, actually get those random things that I never thought would ever happen in my life to actually happen just through, I don't know, sheer effort and luck and connections, which I guess is basically how anything is made properly.
Yeah.
But,
We joked about it a lot when we were younger, like, our story's good, watch, it'll get really, really popular, but we didn't necessarily, like, actually 100% believe that it would get to this point like it has, especially so quickly. Definitely very thankful for that. Like, I'm thankful for everybody that's here right now. I'm thankful for everybody that's already supporting us and may continue to support us in the future. It really means a lot. And I think it definitely encourages us to continue, even when sometimes maybe we weren't sure if we should. So.
Yeah. There was another thing that I wanted to say about that. Oh, what I wanted to say about that is, it's no in the sense that there were certain aspects of the comic that we can't get rid of now, namely quirks, because...
Sure.
We could read them, and we thought that the quirks were good, and we didn't really intend for, like, such a large influx of people to ever really get into it, so we were just making it for us, and we were like, oh, well, we can read them, so it doesn't matter. So, if you're wondering why some of the quirks are hard to read, besides the ones that were obviously made to be hard to read, that's probably why. Like, Mert is very much intentional. That was always his gimmick from the get-go. But, like, things like Dismiss, or I guess some people have trouble with Taz and Elsie sometimes.
Yeah. I think anything that replaces a letter, no matter how similar it is going to cause a little problem.
Yeah.
And we are working on making an alternative for people who need those taken out. It may be a while before we can actually get it implemented, but it is something on our to-do list for anyone that wasn't aware.
Yeah. If not, you can check the Vast Error Twitter. I've shilled the person who made it is actually one of our site programmers now, Cryo. They made a dequirkifier for Homestuck and Vast Error. So I believe it's only a Chrome extension right now, but it works great if you want to use it. I believe it's got MSPFA and Decon Recon capabilities, so, like, if you need that, if you feel like you got the gist and, like, that would help you, like, go nuts. I want to get to, before we get to some more of these that we got,
Okay.
There was one question in the chat that I wanted to answer, and then I wanted to answer a couple of these Tumblr questions.
Okay.
One of them is the Green Sun in Vast Error the Green Sun from Homestuck? Technically, yes, in that they have similar concepts. No, in the sense that it's not related to Homestuck. Nothing in Vast Error is ever going to directly tie into Homestuck in any official capacity, ever. They are completely separate realities that would not work together in any way were they to be put together.
Yeah. basically the best rule of thumb for vast error is just anything that you see that is immediately recognizable as a Homestuck concept functions probably similarly, but not exactly the same. So you should go into it thinking that you don't necessarily 100% understand how it functions. It's kind of a clean slate. It will be similar in that hopefully you can understand it relatively quickly once more information is provided, but it's not exactly the same. So don't always bet on knowing what it's going to do in the future.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go through a couple of these Tumblr questions. Most of them are admittedly kind of dumb, but I'm just going to I'm just gonna lightning round it. Is vast error just one big bruh moment? Yes. How the hell can Edelon be so creepy and cute at the same time? Komida from Super Danganronpa 2.
Okay.
How do trolls prevent that jabroni Mark Taz from working herself into a shoot? Does she not take Hulk Hogan's advice? No. It literally says in the comic that she hates him and that she wants to kill him for what he's done to the Mirthomaniac faith. Also, Taz doesn't like the Mirthomaniacs in general. She's forced to do a lot of that stuff, so, I wouldn't expect her to like him. Let's see. Is Snowbound blood free? Yes.
Absolutely.
Unless you want to donate to us, in which case I will use it on burgers. Thank you.
And just to clarify that really quickly, the donations given to us for Snowbound Blood do disperse across the team as a whole, not just to me and Austin.
Yeah, no. We give the team what we can when we can. It's not like we make like a shit ton of money off this thing.
No.
We get $200 a month off of Patreon, and we split that between us, and even then, we only use that for, food and vast error-related expenditures anyway. Yeah. Let's see. Who in the ever-living fuck let Osius be that tall? Me, bitch. Is Gentha's Lucis Freddy Freaker? No, Gentha's Lucis is Mothra. You'll see. Yeah, that's about it. Let's go back to the right. On-stream questions.
Real quick, D wanted to know if Mert could be their wife.
No.
No? I'm sorry, D.
Listen, I need you people to listen to me right now. I'm speaking directly into your ear. None of the Vast Era characters will ever like you. None of the Vast Era characters will ever want to date you. None of the Vast Era characters will ever think that you're attractive. None of them want anything to do with you. Please stay out of their lives.
I'm sorry.
I'm not. I'm right. I'm always right. And when I'm right, I'm right. Okay.
How far should we look into the cover art for Road to Recovery?
Enough.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, enough.
How do blood casts work? What's the difference between Arcjek and Dismas's blood color? We mostly kind of talked about the casts a little bit already, but I will go ahead and answer the difference between Arcjek and Dismas. They are a bit of a special case in that Dismas falls more into the proper bronze category, whereas Arcjek's was more of an artificial mixing based on being a bronze blood that had lime blood inserted into his system. So that's the difference between them in particular. How would the main 12 respond to the trolley problem?
That's actually someone
did that.
Yeah, someone made a nice post about that on Twitter. I don't know if they're in the chat or anything, but just look up Vast Error trolley problem in the Twitter search. I'm sure you'll find it. That post answers it better than I ever did.
It was very good, and also that would be a very long thing to try and go through right now, because that takes a lot of thought and figuring it out. I think, especially to go through all 12. What's the hardest thing you had to do when working on Vast Error?
Dealing with fans. And also just making the comic in general.
Yeah, I mean, it's a process as a whole. There's so much to it. It's kind of hard to pinpoint one thing specifically. It's just a long, tedious road, but I guess I can say, like, if you're truly passionate about something you want to put out there and that you have an idea for, just keep going, you know? It's tricky, and it does take a long time. I mean, for us especially, we've been going at this for 8 years, but I would not want it any other way because those several years have allowed us proper time to refine and learn and grow as individuals and just make it the best it can be. And we are still learning and progressing even as we go. So, I think, especially for Austin when we were younger, a lot of difficulty for that was patience.
Yeah, no. I'm an extremely impatient person. It is one of my fatal flaws. I just like to work fast, and like if I'm not really interested in something, or if like I'm being forced to wait for something, I just want to like rip it off like a band-aid and move on as fast as possible. But obviously I'm not super, obviously that the world is not going to do that for me. It's just it's hard to deal with in the moment.
And that is very frustrating sometimes, even on my end too. Like, you want to just get it out there, you want to get it done, you want to be working on it now, but sometimes, you know, you have to have a little patience. You have to wait until you're actually satisfied with your product and make sure it's where you want it to be, or sometimes resource limitation makes things more difficult, but, you know, you'll get there eventually, and it's worth it in the end, I think.
Here's one in the chat. You said ArcJack and Elsie are related. How are they related, and do they know that they are? Yes, ArcJack and Elsie are related. It isn't something that has been explicitly brought up in the comic through anything except major subtext, but I think it's pretty easy to pick up on, especially if you notice cues in, like, the preloader in Elsie Dance Out Your Frustrations and stuff like that. Do they know if they're related? I think it's pretty obvious that Elsie knows something, but ArcJack doesn't.
Right. And that's why it hasn't been totally brought up in the story yet, but we did sort of kind of blow that one ahead of time because of the fan-related shipping content problems it was causing. So we thought that was a good thing to know. Sometimes that's
like
acceptable.
Again, with anything troll-related, like, their quote-unquote, like, relationship isn't entirely familial, but, like, as has been expressed in Volume 5 of Snowbound Blood, and just for the comic as a whole, this is a general thing to keep in mind. Like, these trolls, unlike Alternian trolls, do have some sort of concept of the familial, and because of that, like, anything to do with them in a romantic relationship comes off as weird and disgusting to me, and I'm really not interested in seeing it. I don't really think other people are super interested in seeing it either, unless you're weird and gross. So please don't be weird and gross. Just don't ship incest. It's that easy.
I'm not doing that.
Which one? Let me read it. No,
we're not going to go over name pronunciations again. We've done that enough.
I hate that. Name pronunciation discourse with Vast Error is just, it's the most boring argument. It is the most boring argument that you can have for this comic, because it's just like, who cares? Just say it.
It's fine.
Just say it.
We can run through this again real quick, though. What characters did I make, and what characters did you make?
I made, going in blood order, ArcJack, Gentha, Albion, Serpais, Osius, and Mert.
And then on the other side in order, I made Sova, Dismiss, Elsie, Laven, Taz, Calder. Did I forget?
Yeah, who did you forget?
Did I forget somebody?
You made Sova, Dismiss, Elsie, Laven, Taz, and Calder.
Okay, no, I didn't.
No,
okay.
you didn't. You're
I just
good.
miscounted.
Someone asked in the chat earlier, Will Arcjack Black Oseus be a thing in the comic? No, but it is one of those ships that I actually enjoy in, like, a vacuum, kind of like Taz-C. I want to just announce this here and get it out of the way. Don't expect any major Taz-C content in canon. It is a one-sided crush. In fact, we very recently decided that we don't want anything to do with that ship in the comic, just because with certain stipulations and things that we want to do later, it just it doesn't work out. It's not good. It's not healthy.
Yeah. Would you rather live on Alternia or Repeton? We've talked about this before, actually. It really depends on what you can't stand more, because they're both terrible for very different reasons, but I think I'd still rather live on Repeton, just because at least, like, even if it's a hellscape, at least you're not constantly pursued with the threat of death for slightly stepping out of line.
Yeah. You get to have more personality, and everything's a lot more case by case on Repeton, even if there are certain facets that are not as fun. So, I'd pick Repeton in a heartbeat, even with the whole bonding situation and all that. Like, it's just... I'd much rather deal with that than the potential of being tortured and murdered or enlisted into some sort of fascist military. We got 15 minutes left.
Yeah, we got 15 minutes. What's your favorite aspect of the story itself to work on?
Well, I'm assuming for you that it would be the art.
Yeah, even though I don't do as much of that anymore. Zam does a majority of the panel art now, but I still help out here and there, namely when the creatures or Luci pop up. But I do still very much enjoy getting to help work on that. But, like, Vast Error in of itself, working on it and just creating it, I do really enjoy world building, definitely.
Yeah. World building's probably one of my favorite parts.
Which I think that would lead into, I saw someone else ask at some point, I think, if we were going to expand more on the world outside of Snowbound Blood, which, yes, absolutely we will. That will be happening in Intermission 2, even, especially. So fairly soon we'll be seeing a lot more world building in the comic proper.
Someone said, in fact, Mickey said, hi, Mickey. Mickey said, we got a question in the panel room, so let's see. Do the characters in Vast Errors have class specs? Where do you get the information to give them class specs? Yes, they have class specs. They work differently than they do in Homestuck. Where did I get the information to give them class specs? Years and years of looking at people, looking at people say things about class specs before anything was confirmed.
Like, the general basis of class specs and how they function are still fairly similar and the same. It's not so much that we changed their meaning entirely, it's more so that we just altered their expression a bit to better suit the world of Repeton and its game over Alternia and Esperb or Escrub, because they do completely different things. They have a different purpose, so that would more so tie into how our version of god tiering works and, and how that is expressed in the story, rather than just like the concepts of assigning a class spec to someone.
Also, by the way, just so it's public knowledge here as well, the Vast Error term for god tiering is not god tiering. It is called pure self or purifying. So there you go. There's a tidbit. We gave it to you.
I saw someone ask how we started working with Sam.
I'll handle this one.
Okay.
So we started working with Zam because, I don't know if you guys know this, but a lot of our collaborators are literally just people that I've gone up to and asked if they want to work on the project. and most of the time they just say yes. because I guess they see the passion and they're just like, oh yeah, no, I'll do that. But anyway, so I just go and ask Dasha, that's Zam, to if she wants to do track art, and she just says yeah, and we start talking a bit. We just kind of hit it off, and then we just kind of go from there. And by the end of the night, when we first talked, she ended up getting like 3 like album art sketches for the Repeton album.
She
done.
just went off immediately.
Zam is industrious.
Zam works fast and like amazing quality on top of the speed. It's really incredible, honestly, and I do appreciate her help and contributions to the story so much.
We got another one in the panel room chat.
Okay.
What is Jack's role in Vast Error? Not the same role that he has in Homestuck, but he's still important. You're gonna be seeing more of him. He's not going away. In fact, I'm still very proud that if there is one aspect of Homestuck that is kind of similar that we ended up keeping, I am still glad that we have Jack. I can't imagine doing something like this without him. I love that guy.
Yeah. And doubling back on the Zam chat, I did see someone at some point too ask how many people are working on Vast Error. Austin and I are still the ones in charge. It's our story. We came up with it. We headline everything. But our main team is composed now of us, Zam, Kate, who does a lot of side help and various things that we may need here and there, and Kohi, who does our programming and putting the flashes together. And then we have a lot of extra side help that comes and goes as we need it. Mainly the music team sticks around, does a lot. That's always growing and changing. And now we're getting guest artists. And we've always had like track artists that pop up.
We have like Vast Error, like Homestuck, I believe at this point does have like a pretty specific art team. If there's someone working on Snowbound Blood, then you can probably just consider him a major part of the Vast Error art team, and they'll probably be people that you see popping up a lot throughout the comic later.
Yeah.
I have a question for you two or anybody in the chat. Explain Bart. This is a question that I get a lot because I know it's just like a popular me-related and Vast Error inside joke. It's my brand. But, like, I don't have much for you, dude. Like, there's not a huge explanation for it. I just started repping Bart one day and I thought it was funny, and it's just gone on this far.
It's just stuck, and now it's a part of Vast Error itself. Does it really actually mean anything? Not really.
I think I have talked about how I do kind of conflate how The Simpsons and Vast Error are kind of like oddly metatextually tied due to like how The Simpsons is something that has like gone on forever and seems to repeat itself and never end, much like how things in Vast Error tend to repeat themselves and go on forever and never end. And there's been like a massive decline in quality or whatever. That was a self-burn. But other than that, like, no, there's no other like larger inherent reason.
Do you guys keep up with Vast Error fan content, such as fan fictions? What is your opinion on how much fan work you get? Yeah, we keep up with it as best as we can. Of course, there is so much at this point that we're not very likely to see or find everything that people make, but we do try to keep up with it as much as possible, and, like, literally everything that comes up is like, wow. It is very humbling. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, as anybody who has been on Twitter for like the past year or so knows, I see almost everything Vast Error related that's on there. I try and like as many like legitimate Vast Error tweets as I can that aren't just like shit posts or whatever, and even sometimes I'll like those. Yeah, no, I love looking at Vast Error fan content, like fan animations and art and fan fiction and even like the occasional fan song, video, whatever. Like, it's all just incredible. There's never been a thing that someone has made that has been, like, legitimate that I haven't liked. Like, this fan base is incredible, and it's only going to keep growing, so...
Yeah. I saw some questions for Sova and Dismiss's name about Dismiss being the thief and Sova's being the word for owl. Yeah, that's what those are.
Yeah, those are intentional, though we've joked about that since, like, every name on Repeton is technically just unintelligible garbage to them. Like, even though they have inherent meaning to us, they don't to them. Mm-hmm. So it's still just gibberish for them.
Yeah. What other religions are in Vast Error?
Well, we know about the Byzantines. Yeah. They don't exist anymore, though.
And there's the Weird Owl cult, and there's various, like, religions on Repeton that deal with our deities, Gaiana and Caparia. And I'm sure there's plenty of other things, too, that we could maybe expand on in the future. Like, not everybody has to believe in those specifically, but obviously those are the most important ones to the story proper. Really, religion on Repeton can spread wherever you want it to.
Yeah, you can make a religion out of almost anything on Repeton, because it's, for them, it's like an inherently just, it's an escapist thing. They will worship anything if it means that they have a chance at being happy as they go on. So, you know, have fun with it. Make your characters suffer, and make your real-life celebrities in this comic do weird things. There was a joke in Volume 4 that I'm still so sad that we had to cut, like, just for time. Repetonian Tom Cruise is dead. Originally, the theater that Endari was performing at in Snowbound Blood Volume 4 was going to be called the Tom Cruise Memorial Theater 2.
I didn't put it in, though, because I didn't feel like it.
Which makes Heather a coward.
I am. I'm sorry.
I mean, you do get a Taz mention in Volume 4, so, like, be grateful for that, at least. Okay, so we only got about 4 minutes left, and we're going to cut out of here with one last song, a very important song to us.
I'm not doing the song anymore.
We gotta at least close out with the song.
Yeah, but that's what was causing the lag.
Well, we can lag out with a final song. I don't...
Just tell them.
No, Heather, if we don't do it, then I will like hum it. I will do the doo-doo-doos.
Okay. Give your thing.
What thing?
Tell them what song.
Oh, what, Bittersweet?
Yeah.
What about it?
You were starting to talk about it. Tell them what song we're gonna be playing.
We're gonna cut out of here with Bittersweet. That's it.
Okay.
As soon as Heather tabs back in so I can see the chat, let's just, the chat is still from the back to us because you guys are lagging out, on our end. So, rapid fire questions for the last 2 or 3 minutes. Whenever you hear this.
I don't know if that's gonna work.
Go. I'm just gonna wait. Does Etalon butt vape fuck you? Is White Noise not in full possession of his mental faculties? Maybe we'll find out.
Maybe we will. I think we are about out of time anyways, so...
Oh man, that was only 2... Heather, ask me a question. We have to close out on final questions.
Okay, well, someone wanted to know a little more about what's going on next. Just reiterate that for them real quick.
What's going on next? We got End of Act 2. We got a little bit after End of Act 2. And then we got Intermission 2. Act 3, Act 1, Intermission 3, Act 3, Act 2, Act 4, Intermission 4 and 5, and then we got the credits, and then we got the epilogue, and also Act 5. I did that completely out of order. You know what order it goes in. We got, like 2 or 3 more albums coming out this year. You got me. You got Heather. We're not leaving. You got Bart. You got Weird Al. You got the Funny Juice. And you got love in your heart. And I'm so very proud of you.
Alright, guys. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed our little chat, even with the technical difficulties. And maybe we can do something like this sometime again. Thank you for coming. That is not the right song.
That is not the song.
Well, you know what? I love you guys anyways.
We have to play the right song.
I'm sorry. I clicked the wrong thing.